So Rachel Mitchell is the Republicans' pick to basically ask Republican questions for them. It's sort of a weird setup that they have. So Republicans basically want to ask these questions of Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, but they don't actually want to do it themselves. So they bring in Ms. Mitchell, or Ms. Mitchell, who's an Arizona prosecutor for Maricopa County. She worked under Joe Arpaio. And interesting enough, when she was working as a sex crimes prosecutor, she actually did not do a very good job from her job records from that time. Lovely, right? So look, I was expecting coming into it for Mitchell to be, I guess, really, really tough with her questioning to basically try to pick apart her story. Now, she didn't do that, which was very, very interesting. Instead, she did ask some important questions. And of course, she tried to ascertain the facts, which you're supposed to do when you're a prosecutor. So you set down the basis of facts, but then, of course, I was expecting her to, of course, start getting hard into the questions once those facts are established and to basically pick apart her story. She didn't do that. In fact, she actually, I think, made Blasey Ford's case even stronger. So, and I'm not the only one who believes that. You also have an ex-U.S. attorney who's saying basically the same thing. In fact, this is Mimi Roca. And this is a former U.S. Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. Now, she said of the format, which again, a lot of people found very, very strange in this, it was 5-minute limit to questions, right? Now, she said that that limit had severely hindered questioning by Rachel Mitchell. She said, frankly, as a former prosecutor, I'm embarrassed that this prosecutor, Ms. Mitchell, is participating in this sham. Because of what is going on right here is she is trying to put Dr. Ford on trial for interrupting the flow of Judge Kavanaugh's nomination. That is what this feels like. Now look, watching that, I also got a trial feeling. But she's not on trial. Blasey Ford, Dr. Ford, not on trial. This is a job interview for Kavanaugh. So look, Republicans were trying to make the case that, we need due process for Kavanaugh, but we point out it's not a trial, and then the Republicans hire somebody on to make this feel like a trial. That's fascinating. And I believe it was Kamala Harris who came out later and said, we just want to remind you, this is not a trial. And I think that's really important because it was really starting to feel like a trial. So that's an interesting piece of analysis there from Ms. Roca. Now, she also said of Ford, the witness, she said she was highly credible. Quote, having seen, I don't know, hundreds of witnesses in my career, she is incredibly credible in trying to remember as many details as she can, and she explained how memory works, not just for trauma. Now, that's interesting because one of the things that I took away from her testimony is how much that she remembered from when she was 15 years old, when the assault had happened. She remembered what the house layout was, right? How many people were there. Now, she couldn't remember the date and the time. And that's actually pretty common with assault survivors, that they don't remember the exact dates and times. Hell, I can't remember exact dates and times of when I do things. And I didn't endure any assault. So it's actually really, really difficult for me to remember dates and times of when I've done things or not. So in her case, remembering 36 years ago, also having to have dealt with what she had dealt with during her time in that house. It's amazing that she remembers as much as she does and with such clarity. So she basically remembered and she explained, I remember going up the stairs. It was a small staircase, going into that bedroom, the bathroom that I remember. The bed was literally on the right-hand side when you go walk into the door. So she explained all those details. Now, look, if you were making something up, you really wouldn't be able to cite such important detail as that. And so that's what also makes her more credible. The detail in her story. Now, she said that Ford basically drew on her education and background to offer those detailed explanations of not just her own recollections, but the science behind her memory. She said, if the three of us sitting right here now tomorrow were to try and recount what happened here at the important details, who was sitting at the table, there were bright lights, it was chilly in the room, I would remember that. Brian Williams was wearing a tie, but if someone asked me tomorrow what color the tie was, I may not remember. It's a very nice tie, but I may not remember the color. I may not remember how many cameramen were standing to my left. You remember the big points. That's what's important. And that is what she remembers. She remembers a lot of the detail. It is those big details that happen to stand out. And especially, look, if you're a survivor of something that is incredibly stressful, you will remember absolutely certain details because they will stay with you. They will haunt you. Those are details that do not go away. Could be even certain smells, or the way certain things look, or certain colors, or just feelings. But there is always something that you remember from that situation. Now, it's not just her memory, though. It's the fact that Ford also is a trained professional. So she also has certain training when dealing with psychological matters. That also lends to her credibility in giving her testimony. In fact, Roca also says that it's a benefit. She said when she started talking about memory and how it works, it's almost like you're listening to an expert witness. And basically explain prosecutors and defense attorneys rely on expert witness testimony to explain complex topics to jurors. But Ford, in this case, was able to serve as both an eyewitness and an expert. She said, quote, "We call them in court all the time after the victim survivor has testified. And here she is embodying both in one. So many people are crying for her, but they're also cheering for her because the strength in the fact that she has the peace of mind to sort of remember the science behind this while she's talking about something so traumatic is actually amazing." She added, finally, "I think, look, for anyone to sit here now after seeing that, I defy anyone to say that she is lying about this." Well, here's the thing. There are definitely people out there that are still saying that she's lying about it. And why? It's because they have approached this situation through the lens of partisanship. Well, she wants to stop Kavanaugh, which it must be a Democratic plot. Later on in the hearing, a lot of the Republican questions, especially from people like Lindsey Graham and Jeff Flake, they were basically trying to make the argument, going through the framing of, well, she must have been coached. Who paid for the polygraph? Was it the political allies? Who paid for this? Who paid for that? It's all basically a way to try to paint this as a politically motivated hit job. That's what the whole thing's about. And look, that's why, guess what? We need an investigation. If I were Judge Kavanaugh right now, I would want an investigation. Again, these are incredibly serious charges. This is an incredibly credible witness, right? Who is very well spoken, knows what she's talking about. And look, you can go and watch the video where she testifies. It is both strong and filled with emotion. It is hard not to get emotional while you're watching that. And it's hard not to believe her. So if I were Kavanaugh, I'd want that. I would want that investigation Because, look, if, say, the Republicans are right and this is some political hit job, an investigation would probably actually find that out. But I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying that I believe her. I absolutely believe her and her story. And again, a lot of people, you can't deny that she is a very credible witness and that her testimony is incredibly moving, and that it's going to be very, very difficult for people not to believe her. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.